The federal $7,500 EV tax credit is gone. Every price you're about to hear is the actual sticker price with zero government help. And somehow, electric cars are cheaper right now than they've ever been in American history. The new reality. Electric cars are cheaper right now than they have ever been in the United States, and we're not talking about stripped-down, barely functional economy cars with embarrassing range figures that leave you stranded halfway through your commute. We're talking about real, modern, feature-packed electric vehicles with 300-plus miles of range sitting at prices that would have seemed completely impossible just 2 years ago. Every price you hear today is the actual sticker price with no federal tax credits assumed because, as of right now, that $7,500 federal incentive is gone. Some states still have their own programs, so check your local incentives as a potential bonus on top of everything we're covering here. Also worth knowing, every car on this list now uses the NACS charging port, meaning they all plug directly into Tesla's supercharger network without adapters or workarounds. That is a massive win for anyone worried about finding a charger on the road. Number 7. Mini Cooper SE. Number 7 might surprise some of you, the Mini Cooper SE. This fully electric version of the Mini has a driving range of just 114 miles, but it's worth noting that independent testing has achieved 129 miles during real-world range tests. Starting price is a tick under $32,000. $32,000 is actually quite a bit of coin when you consider just how small this thing is, and that range figure is far from impressive compared to everything else on this list. The Mini does sport a chic minimalist cabin that feels very high quality for something of this class, and because of its tiny dimensions, it's actually pretty fun to drive, not to mention real easy to park in tight urban spaces. One final word on the Mini. A brand new generation is slated to show up for 2025, and it's looking like a major step forward inside and out with significantly improved range and updated technology. If the current model doesn't quite cut it for your needs, the next generation might be worth waiting for. Number 6. Tesla Model 3. Number 6 is the one that a lot of you have probably been waiting for. Tesla. And yes, Tesla makes the list. Because the base Model 3 rear-wheel drive is now sitting at a price point that puts it right in the thick of this conversation. Prices for the Model 3 start at $36,990. And even this entry-level specification offers an EPA range of 321 miles, along with a 0 to 60 time of 5.8 seconds for a base model. Those are seriously impressive numbers. And then, of course, you add the Tesla factor on top, the supercharger network, the over-the-air software updates, the autopilot capability that comes standard, and the overall refinement of a car that Tesla has been continuously improving for years now. The new base Model 3 rear-wheel drive loses some features compared to higher trims, things like ambient lighting, a rear passenger touchscreen, and full vegan leather seats. But it also cuts the Model 3's entry price by $5,500. So you're making some small sacrifices on the luxury side to hit that lower price. But the core driving experience, the range, and the technology are all still very much there. The reason it sits at number 6 rather than higher on the list is purely the price. $37,000 is still a stretch compared to what's coming up, but for what you get, it remains one of the sharpest value propositions in the segment. Number 5. Volvo EX30. Number 5 is the Volvo EX30, which might have flown a little under the radar, but this small electric crossover is looking to make a major impression. Its starting price of just over $36,000 is hugely attractive, and so is the claimed range of 275 miles. For that money, you also get Volvo's classic Scandinavian minimalism both inside and out. The interior sort of mimics what Tesla's been doing and gets rid of the display ahead of the driver, cramming almost all of the functions into the center screen. It's worth noting that the EX30 is small though. If you're thinking Model Y size, you're thinking too big. The EX30 is more than a foot shorter than that car, and it remains to be seen if American buyers will embrace something so petite in a market that typically favors larger vehicles. What the EX30 brings to the table is Volvo's reputation for safety, build quality, and thoughtful design at a price point that undercuts many of its competitors while still delivering respectable range and modern features. Number 4. Ford Mustang Mach-E. Number 4 is one that has been quietly sitting in the background of the EV conversation for a few years now, and honestly, it deserves a lot more credit than it gets. The Ford Mustang Mach-E. Yes, it has been around since 2020. Yes, people sometimes forget about it. But here's the thing. Ford has been refining this car the entire time it's been on sale, and after a recent price cut, the select trim now comes in under $40,000 before any incentives. The Mach-E has quietly become one of America's best-selling non-Tesla EVs, and for good reason. It's a great-looking EV with competitive specs and a big screen inside. The exterior still turns heads, the interior is spacious, the rear seat is genuinely comfortable for adults, and the cargo area is practical enough for real, everyday family use. This is not a car that asks you to compromise on the things that matter in daily life. Range on the base select trim sits around 250 miles, which is respectable. Step up to the extended range version and you're pushing closer to 270 miles. The charging experience has also improved significantly since the early days. Ford has worked out most of the software issues that affected the first model years, and the overall ownership experience is much smoother now than it was when this car first launched. If you want a recognizable, good-looking electric SUV with the Mustang badge and a price that no longer requires a deep breath before signing, the Mach-E at this price point is worth a very serious look. Number 3. Subaru Solterra. Number 3 might genuinely surprise some of you, the Subaru Solterra. And look, I know Subaru is not the first brand that comes to mind when you think about cutting-edge electric vehicles. But hear me out on this one, because the 2026 Solterra is a completely different story compared to what it was just a year ago. The Solterra received a major update for the 2026 model year. While its price barely budged, range in the base model was boosted to 288 miles, up from 227 miles previously. A roughly 25% improvement. That is a massive jump in range for the same money. On top of that, the peak charging rate went from 100 kilowatts up to 150 kilowatts, so it charges noticeably faster than before as well. What the Solterra brings to the table that most of its competitors cannot match is the full Subaru experience, standard all-wheel drive, confident handling in rain and snow, and that rugged, dependable character that Subaru buyers have always loved. It's also a pleasant car to drive, a nice size, and has a charming interior with a distinctive digital gauge cluster pushed back toward the windshield. For anyone living somewhere with real winters or anyone who just wants that extra confidence on slippery roads, the Solterra makes a compelling argument. It's not the flashiest car on this list, but it's one of the most practical and most improved. And at just under $40,000, it's genuinely worth your attention. Number 2. Chevrolet Bolt. Okay. Into the top 3 now, and number 2 is a big one. The Chevrolet Bolt is back. And if you followed the EV market a few years ago, you might remember that the original Bolt was discontinued back in 2023. Well, Chevy brought it back for 2026, and they came back swinging. The new Bolt launches with a starting price of $29,990 for the LT with Comfort package. Highlights on the new Bolt include sleeker interior and exterior styling, a range of 255 miles, a Tesla-style NACS charging port, a peak charging speed of 150 kilowatts, a single motor making 210 horsepower, and an 11.3-inch touchscreen. Infotainment system. And here's the part that makes this even more interesting. Chevrolet will later release a more affordable base specification with prices starting at $28,995, which would make it the most affordable brand new EV in the entire US market when it arrives. The new Bolt also uses LFP batteries. That stands for lithium iron phosphate, which are known for being more stable, longer lasting, and easier to maintain over time compared to older battery chemistry. You can charge them to 100% every single day without worrying about degrading the battery, which is a genuinely practical advantage for everyday ownership. 255 miles of range, fast charging, a fresh modern design, and a starting price under $30,000, the Bolt is back, and it means serious business. Number 1. Nissan Leaf. Right. We're down to number 1, and number 1 is a name that has been in the electric vehicle game longer than almost anyone else. The Nissan Leaf. And before you tune out thinking this is the same old Leaf you've seen for years, stop right there, because the 2026 Leaf is a completely different animal from what came before it. The third-generation Nissan Leaf is new for 2026 and remains one of the most affordable ways into a new electric vehicle in the US. The S Plus trim starts at $29,990, and that low price comes with no compromise on battery range. With a 75 kilowatt-hour battery pack delivering an EPA estimated range of 333 miles. 300 miles of range for under $30,000. That is the headline right there. And it's a genuinely remarkable number. But the upgrades go beyond just the range. The new Leaf has transformed from a hatchback into a compact crossover body style, which aligns much better with what mainstream American buyers actually want. Standard equipment includes wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, remote climate control, a 28-inch driver display, and a front electric motor producing 214 horsepower. This is not your older brother's Leaf. This is a completely reimagined vehicle that just happens to carry the same name. It looks modern, it drives confidently, it has the features people actually use every day, and it plugs directly into the Tesla supercharger network through its native NACS port. Nissan has also floated an even cheaper Leaf S trim with a smaller battery and lower power output, potentially priced just above $25,000, which, if it arrives as expected, would push the value proposition of this car into truly uncharted territory for new EVs. The 2026 Leaf is the real deal, and it earns the #1 spot on this list. And that's your top 10 cheapest new EVs you can buy right now in the US market. From the reimagined Nissan Leaf to the comeback story of the Chevrolet Bolt, there has genuinely never been a better time to go electric without completely emptying your wallet. The options are real, the prices are real, and the range numbers across this entire list would have blown people's minds just a few years ago. If any of these cars caught your attention today, do yourself a favor and check your local state incentives on top of everything we talked about, because in some states, you could be looking at additional savings that make these numbers even better. And if you want a deeper dive on any one of these cars individually, drop it in the comments. Subscribe now, because the EV revolution is just getting started and you don't want to miss what's coming next.